Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Notre Dame fans. Mike Singer and Tim Hyde live on the Blue and Gold YouTube channel. Well, we're live for those watching live. If you're watching back, listen to the podcast. Hello to you. Hope everyone is doing well. It is February 13th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Tim, I don't know about you, but I'm under the weather. Struggling, but powering through. Tim, it's been, what, over 2 weeks since we've done a show?
Sounds good.
I miss you. Tim, I miss you. I said this to you privately. I missed you. I've missed you, and I'm looking forward to talking ball, man. Everything good up in the Northeast?
Everything's awesome. Nice ice storm today. Getting about 20 inches of snow on Sunday, so that's gonna be fun. But other than that, man, football's back. Winter conditioning.
Football's back.
Football's back, baby. We got the hype videos, the winter conditioning. Coaches, sending out pics over the stadium. You can't beat it, man. So, dude, it never dies, man. It's actually exciting because you're getting people already doing playoffs because I think the playoffs was so damn exciting. Yeah. It's made all these national writers like already diving into it. Where this time last year, they were just complaining and how's this going to work? Now they're like, dude, that was like the best month of football. Let's get back to it. So it's pretty exciting, especially seeing some of the early top 10s, top 20s, all those things. Because, to me, it's easy to do some of those because you always start with the quarterback. So you're like, who's got the quarterback? And you start building off your top 10 teams from there.
For folks watching on YouTube, please hit the thumbs up on this video and subscribe to our channel for more content. blueandgold.com is the place to be for all Notre Dame, all things Notre Dame football and recruiting coverage, as well as basketball, men's and women's. Also for folks watching.
Not men's basketball.
We still are covering that bad men's basketball team.
Is that Sobel who has to watch that stuff?
Sobel is Jack. If you're watching, listen, I love you, Jack. Jack is young enough to where he just still loves it. He loves all aspects of the job. Maybe not all aspects, but like covering men's basketball, he loves it. Like he's a hoops guy. So I don't know if Jack's a hooper, but I've
only watched a couple minutes. I've only watched a couple minutes because they've been so bad. It's like, so I put on one of the games it was Miami, right? Is that the one they choked away? Miami's like one of the worst teams, and they blew that game. I watched some of that, and I'm like, God, that's just basketball. I grew up in the 80s and 90s. Notre Dame had some teams, some athletes, some shooters.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And then Shrewsbury's got all this hype. I'm like, man, I'll coach those guys. It's like, come on. This is bad basketball. But so Jack knows I love him. And I wish you well. Horka's got the girls. I'll watch the girls if they get to the title game. How's that?
Yeah. Also, for folks watching on YouTube, I have to shout out. Wait, it was this towel, Shamrock. Shamrock knows who he is, a buddy of mine. He sent this to me because I got one of these and I sent it to Tim.
Yes, you are.
And then I was without one. And then Shamrock heard me say that on a show and he sent me one. So I appreciate that. And then this one, Tim and I both got this one from the national championship game. And from who sent it to us is a secret. But Tim,
which by the way, I do have a letter that is going to go out. So I told you I was going to write a nice letter. Oh yeah, I'm excited.
Good for you, Tim. I'm sorry to tease. I know we did a lot of teasing on the show last week when Tim was out. What was it? Your wife was out of town. You were playing mom and dad.
Yeah, traveling the world. So let me hang out with the kids for a little bit. That was nice.
So yeah, it was Horka last week, and we were doing a lot of teasing. Which, by the way, we are launching a new show next week. No, it's not next week. I'm off next week.
Tim. There you go.
I usually do a week off in February. So that's when all the news will break. Dude,
you're not doing a cruise this year?
I'm not doing jack. I'm not doing any. I have chores and things I want to do, and I'm not going anywhere. This is what I picked. This is what I wanted to do. So I'm looking forward to staying at home and yes, a lot of daddy-daughter time that I'm really looking forward to. Because during the day, I see her obviously every hour. Almost, because I work from home, but it's gonna be awesome to just like let my wife, have some time to herself. Anyways, let's dive into the show.
Yeah, what you got?
I want to start with, I would say, the biggest news item since our last show, which I mean, you can argue James Blanchard. We're not going to talk about the Blanchard thing unless you want to spend 10 seconds on it, Tim. But
no, we'll wait for the next one. We'll not the next one that doesn't take it. The official. Once it's official, I love to dive into the whole thing. And you and I talk about the role. What the heck's it going to mean down the road for Notre Dame in this new landscape? So yeah, we'll spend more time on that down the road.
Which, by the way, if you want to do a show with Horka next week, I actually texted him, waiting to hear back from him. Horka's the worst texter, but if you want to do a show with Horka to replace me, that'd be great. But yeah, Ja'Juan Seider, Tim. Right. It's not official, but I mean, the guy posted this on Instagram. I mean, this is him on a plane to South Bend. You could see, the back of the library there and Notre Dame Stadium. So I think he's coming to Notre Dame. But yeah, so Notre Dame expecting to hire Ja'Juan Seider, all but done here officially. So just your reactions to this. Notre Dame loses Dylan McCullough and replaces him with Ja'Juan Seider.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, I didn't know, the Penn State, the offensive line guy. I've watched a ton of his stuff because I love offensive line and everything. So when this news broke, obviously the first thing you're thinking is they got dudes. I mean, if Notre Dame's the best running back room, they're number 2, and if Penn State's the best running back room, Notre Dame's number 2. So both rooms are loaded. So I instantly just went back and you just start seeing obviously his history, who he's been with. And that's always the great thing with Mr. Marcus Freeman is there's always connections somewhere, right? Somebody knows somebody. And as I posted on our message board, I'm like, who's one of Marcus Freeman's closest friends is Jared Parker. And sure enough, he's coached with Parker at 2 different spots. So there's the easiest reference in America.
Marshall and WVU?
Exactly. And Penn State, the one year at Penn State together.
Oh, yeah.
They were at Penn State together. So it's like real easy to be like, hey, a running back? Yeah, I got Seider, Penn State guy. So it's like, yeah, reach out to him. You could easily see how these conversations take place. And Seider's like, yeah, I've been here 7 years. Get me away from James Franklin. So I'm sure, I don't think that's what he said, but he could have, right? Get me the hell out of here. But you start doing a little background on the guy, and I mean, he's a lot like Dylan McCullough, as in they both have massive aspirations to be head coaches. McCullough's interviewed, Seider's interviewed for a couple of group of 5 jobs over the last few years. McCullough, obviously, the same thing. He's always been rumored for some MAC jobs and things of that nature. So that was really interesting to dive into his background. And then you start seeing some of the running backs he's gotten. And sure enough, Notre Dame wanted some of those guys. Notre Dame offered a half a dozen of these guys. So they got a great one in 26, 25. He landed one. Singleton was a 5-star. And what's impressive is he got the other running back who was a top 100 guy. So Allen, heck of a ball coach. You just start, looking at his history, where he's from. Big Florida recruiter, which is very interesting because that's always been an Achilles heel, so to speak, for Notre Dame. It hasn't been recently. They've been making way more inroads recently.
Yeah.
He reminded me also a lot of, Tony Alford, who Notre Dame, I know Football Scoop reported, gave him a call, but he's only been there like 10 months, at Michigan. So, and he's got huge Florida ties. So it's exciting. I mean, you lose an elite ball coach, you replace him with arguably the same caliber of background, history, production from his running back. So, yes. Yeah. Marker glasses, by the way. Yeah. Big hatred for Penn State. So, yes, most definitely. But and then you're just real quick, like, how does that call go down, right? Because they just beat them. The Freeman obviously hated being at that press conference from Franklin, and you go and get a dude with him 7 years with Franklin. I think that's the most impressive thing, is you got a guy that's been one of his right-hand, guys there at Penn State this whole thing. So to go and steal him, I think, is a massive, massive kudos to Coach Freeman.
All right, I got 6 things to say.
Sure, go.
One, Tim, your hair. Did you get a haircut recently? It looks amazing.
Yeah, a little comb, a little conditioner. It does wonders, baby.
Looks amazing. I did an interview with Lena Tangwall, who, we talked about him a lot during the lead up to the Penn State game. I did a show with him, and so he texted me the other day, and he was like, I want to do a video with you for your channel on Seider. So I was in Nashville from Monday to Wednesday. So I was like, just do Thursday, let's do it. So we did it today, and I posted it. So you can find it on our Blue and Gold YouTube channel. So make sure you watch that after tonight's show. And then Jay Carr said, wonder if he'll try to flip Mike Mickens. He's around 100, top 100 player. Maybe. I mean, this is what we're talking about. BlueandGold.com. It's definitely the place to be. My boy Kyle Kelly had reports on that very topic today. So. And then last thought, Tim, is like if you like to replace Dylan McCullough, like this hire just shows and it reminds us that Freeman, dude, this guy does not play games. Like he is not taking the easy route with any hire. Like could you go get some like up and coming coach or sure, but I mean, like you look at last year. Stealing Denbrock from LSU, you steal Seider from Penn State. Like Freeman goes big for some of these hires, man. He gets who he wants a lot of times, right? Not all the time.
Sure.
Ludwig, these things happen, but like the guy swings for the fences. So, and Seider specifically, I mean, he's easily a top 10 running back coach in college football. I would probably argue top 5. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like I am the expert on running backs coaches, but he's got to be considered one of the very best. So you lose one of the very best and you replace him with one of the very best.
Yeah, and I think the most, when you're like looking back, with McCullough is, I mean, I started, reading back when he got hired. Remember a couple of NFL teams tried hiring him like before he even came to Notre Dame. When all that was being
the Giants, I think.
Was it them? Yeah, okay. I thought it was them or the Jets. I knew it was somebody in New York, so one of those guys. So I thought that was impressive. And obviously the NFL's called every year. So the fact that he's going to the NFL, with Coach Carroll, heck, that's who his dad coached with in Seattle during all those years. So I think that was an easy reference there. Pete Carroll's like, hey, who do you got? My son. So I think that was a nice little call. But yeah. Just real quick on McCullough, obviously a hell of a job. His 3 years, going from there. And what's exciting now with Seider, we've talked about this with the running back recruiting because Love, Price, they're both going to be gone. But the key is replacing Love, and that's the guy you got to go out and get that. A guy who could play as a freshman, not be 12 carries, but maybe a guy who gets 5, 6, touches the ball here and there, an explosive guy. And obviously they've got a handful of offers out and recruiting guys, I think. And then the stud at Penn State, obviously he's going to end up visiting, no doubt about it, with that relationship that he has with him. So running back recruiting is going to be huge because you got to replace that explosiveness, obviously with Love leaving and Ja'Juan Price.
Folks, let's hear about Augie's locker room in tonight's show. So, folks, if you're local, you're driving through South Bend, making a pit stop, or coming in for some kind of event, or whatever the case is, if you're in South Bend, or if you're not coming to South Bend anytime soon, it's where you can go to augieslockerroom.com and check out one-of-a-kind, unique Notre Dame items. And if you're wanting the in-store location at 1733 North Ironwood Drive in South Bend, just down the street from Notre Dame. So they have a wide selection of Notre Dame Stadium pieces, jerseys, helmets, autographs, and one-of-a-kind Rockney items. You can find exclusive Joe Montana sign items and famous sculptor Jerry McKenna's replicas of the Browns statues around the stadium. Augie gets new stuff in all the time. These like coins down, like these are new. Like this is sweet. Helmet signed by Ryan Grant, like awesome stuff. Always unique. And we've been reading Augie's ad reads for years. I mean, I feel like since I joined the beat almost 6 years ago now. So always unique new stuff that you find on Augie's Locker Room. So check it out, augieslockerroom.com. It's kind of amazing stuff. You're going to want to check it out. Give them a call, 574-277-6363. My amazing wife just brought up some ibuprofen, Tim. My head is killing me. So I will give you the floor here. Notre Dame had 8 players invited to the 2025 NFL Scouting Combine. Riley Leonard, Bo Collins, Mitch Evans, Howard Cross, Riley Mills, Jack Kaiser, Ben Morrison, Xavier Watts. Now, do we know if this means they've accepted it, Tim?
Oh, they're going. I mean, heck yeah, it's the combine.
It's just TBD who runs.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you got a combine invite, so you're not going to turn that down because Mills is not going to run, but it's all about the interviews. Every single one has an opportunity to be interviewed by the 32 teams. So it depends if they call you in and stuff like that. So
okay,
that's going to be either is the interviews.
So last year, Notre Dame had 8 prospects invited to the 24 combine. 7 got drafted. Joe Alt, of course, was the high number 5. And then the only player who didn't get drafted was Hartman, who was with Washington Commanders all year. And I really think Hartman is going to be like a career back. I think he's going to be in the NFL for a long time. I don't know if he'll ever throw a snap in a game, but I think Hartman's going to be in the NFL for a while. Just you're going to sell some tickets just with him on the sideline. I'm joking, but I'm serious. I think Hartman's going to be in the NFL for a while. But anyways, Tim, 2 absences from the list that I think are interesting. One more so than other. And then, are you surprised by Bo Collins being invited? And are you surprised that R.J. Oben and Jordan Clark didn't get invited?
Collins surprised me just because you think of NFL wide receivers, explosiveness, and things of that nature. So that one surprised me just because. I'm going back to watching his Clemson film. He's a 12-yard and under, pass receiver. So, he's an intermediate
20
guy.
Yards or 20 yards at Texas A&M.
20 against A&M, 13 against Georgia, the 2 big catches this year. So I think it was a 13 right against Georgia. But no, I mean, that one surprised me just because it seemed like his last half of the season was more about the drops than it was the production. So that one surprised me. And then Jordan Clark, I mean, we've talked about him all year long as top 3 most valuable defensive, player. And he's lights out, fast as could be, plays man to man every damn snap. The perfect special team player, the perfect, third corner, nickel corner, slot corner, all those things. That was the biggest surprise was him not getting, especially his dad. Are you kidding me? His dad can't slip his name in there to the NFL Network to get him on the list. So that one really surprised me. Oben, probably just because of his name. He's had a lot of production. I know his dad, an NFL player, but also as Notre Dame fans, we say it was a down because of the sacks. Against the run, he was a stud and a half. That dude, his point of attack playing, I wouldn't be surprised if he makes a team and is like a backup strong side DN. Because he is very physical as a C-gap player. Did not obviously have the great pass rushing until the Georgia one play, which will cement his legacy forever at Notre Dame against Georgia. But I would say probably those 2. More so Clark.
Yeah.
Way more so Clark.
Well, Oben's dad, Roman Oben, VP NFL football development. So it's like,
I know. Yes.
So, yeah. Two very well-known men in this space.
Those 2, exactly. Because
but that regardless,
10, which would have put them, I think, in the top 3 or 4 total. I think Ohio State's 14, and then Bama has Georgia's got like 12 or 13, right below Ohio State. So it's always nice to see who's right around them, and obviously Notre Dame took care of those guys.
Yeah. So, just as I'm thinking about this, like we're expecting Notre Dame's 2 top draft choices for this upcoming draft to be Xavier Watts and Ben Morrison, right? And we're just raving about Jordan Clark. Notre Dame's got a future first-round pick, knock on wood, stays healthy, and Leonard Moore, and Christian Gray is going to play in the NFL as well.
Sure.
Dude, do you remember when we started doing this where Notre Dame's defensive back was at? Where it was at? Talking about Tariq Bracy and Clarence Lewis. It's obviously Kyle Hamilton, but corner especially, Tim, it is just night and day.
Well, you got
hat off to Mike Mickens. We're going to talk about him in just a moment. So good little segue.
Yeah, you always go back. Every time we talk about it, we always go back to the Bama, the playoff game in 2020.
Oh,
they start. I mean, Nick McLeod's still in the NFL. He was actually a Pro Bowl alternate on special teams. He's been solid. But the other starting corners, Clarence Lewis, the backups, Tariq Bracy. Yeah, the depth's a little bit different back then. And obviously they moved Cam Hart from wide receiver to corner, developed him, got him ready for down the road. Cam Hart's obviously in the NFL now. So no DBs, man. There's a bunch of them in the NFL from the last few years. So that's pretty cool to see. And obviously some more are going to happen. I saw the Athletic came out with one of their early ones, and they always come out with the top 2 rounds, and Watts was to the Steelers, Morrison to the Ravens in the 2nd round. It's like, hell, take that in a heartbeat, especially Morrison. You go play with Kyle Hamilton. So, yeah, I would say those 2 guys are probably going to have Morrison's going to be interesting, obviously, with his hip to see what he could do. Watts is the biggie because you're going to see those NFL guys, man. They're going to put on the film. And obviously his background, wide receiver, played outside backer to safety, all these things. He's going to be he's going to be a 2nd-round pick. Because he's a team guy. You know what I mean? He's one of those guys you could easily see playing a decade in the NFL. So that's going to be exciting to hear his name.
Okay. One more thing. Personal note, because Tim and I, we text, but this is usually when we correspond. Do you like this? Do you like this little polo, this little on-3 polo? Think it looks sharp? I got one for you. I got one for you at HQ.
There you go.
I'll make sure to send it to you.
All right.
I'll do that soon. I know you live, so I'll send it to you. But yeah, I was thinking about you, Tim.
Always. I appreciate it.
Tim loves his swag. Okay, talking about Mike Mickens, this was a report from Anwar Richardson a few days ago. According to his sources, Notre Dame DB's coach Mike Mickens, as well as Pitt's Corey Sanders and Rutgers Mark Orphy are the 3 top candidates for the Texas safeties position. The Rutgers guy filled it. So whether that was, did they choose the Rutgers guy over Mickens or what? I honestly don't know. I was just told that Mickens was not going, so I'll just take it at that. But Tim, are you surprised? Like, as we talk about Seider, right? I mean, he went to Penn State as the running backs coach. He gets the co-coordinator title. He gets assistant head coach. It's like he's there for what, 6 years, 7 seasons, and it's like, man, just keep. Like, is Mickens in a similar spot with Seider, where it's like, man, you're just here for so long. At some point, do you just take like a lateral move for a fresh start? Like, I don't know, Tim. I'm curious your thoughts on this. Like, are you surprised that Mike Mickens is still employed by Notre Dame?
No, I'm not surprised. I mean, his high school buddy's the head football coach, so he's got job security, right? He gets to pay his bills on time. So I don't think it's. I thought he was going to go to the NFL. Seriously, I think when you're looking at Cam Hart, Morrison, we're talking about, he takes a freshman who doesn't show up till the summer, makes him into a freshman All-American, and he'll be on all the preseason lists last year. I thought an NFL team was going to just say, "Hey, come aboard." I mean, that's what I was expecting. So, as far as a DC, it's hard. It's like running back, trying to go from running back to OC, or it's like Tony Alford. Tony Alford was at Notre Dame for 5 years. Just didn't think he was going to move up, goes to Ohio State. He thought he was going to be an OC at Ohio State. He's constantly getting passed over. So now he goes to Michigan. So we'll see what happens. Certain spots, and he's been a corners guy. So when you're a corners guy forever, can you be a DC and all that stuff? And me personally, I think the way the DC hire went, I think this co-DC Mickens thing, me personally, I think that was media and fan generated, because the way Marcus Freeman worked, he was going for a DC. He was going for an established veteran guy to handle that. So I think that was all outside noise, because people don't want to lose him. So things of that nature. But I'm not surprised he hasn't taken a job. Obviously, Football Scoop reported he interviewed for Georgia Tech, and they took the Texas guy. That's what opened up the Texas job. So Mickens going to get a shot. He goes out and kicks butt. Well, obviously this year, I mean, they've been damn good the last few years. He's got Al Golden on his resume, all those things. So me personally, I think he's going to be in the NFL before he leaves Notre Dame, for a lateral move or do what Seider does, so to speak. So, but I also think the Seider thing is McCullough had some nice titles at Notre Dame, the associate head coach, all those things.
I mean, Seider had those at Penn State.
Exactly. But it is Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And Notre Dame looks good on the resume.
It does.
And I think it is real easy. You're looking at, Tony Alford obviously has had a heck of a career where he's gone. Then you go from Alford, you roll into Denson. Autry Denson's coaching running backs for the Phoenix Cardinals, Arizona Cardinals, whatever the heck they're called. So he's in the NFL.
Is he?
Obviously, Lance Taylor's a head football coach. And you got McCullough's in the NFL now. So it's a nice Notre Dame on your resume means a lot. And I think Mike Mickens knows that as well.
Yeah, I totally forgot about Denson. In my mind, he was my brain. He was still at Charleston Southern. I forgot. Yeah, he's been with them since 2023.
Yeah, so it's a nice splash. Four running back coaches are all doing pretty good for themselves. So I wouldn't be surprised if he did that. And going back to that Parker thing, you could easily see him call Parker up, and Parker's like, "Dude, you're gonna like Notre Dame. You're gonna like Coach Freeman. It's a no-brainer." And plus, you get away from James Franklin. So there you go. I'm going to say that forever.
Yeah.
He's in my bottom 10 of coaches.
So for the Mickens thing, I wasn't like suggesting that I think he should go or anything like that. I was really just trying to pose a point of view and see what Tim thought. Because, I mean, there's like I said this on a show before, but I talked to a coach who was formerly I think, the morning after the Orange Bowl. I texted a former Notre Dame coach just to kind of check in. I hadn't talked to this person in a while. And he said, "Man, I wish I was still on that staff. I should have never left." Like, that was the response. Like, I bring this up to say people want to be at Notre Dame right now.
Sure.
Man, like, they're like, so for Mickens, he's still so young. He's a year or two younger than Freeman. So he's 35, 36. Still so young. That NFL is going to be there. A college DC job's going to be there. I'm sure I would imagine he's getting himself a nice raise from this cycle. Yeah,
and to jump off that, I mean, look at Chris O'Leary. Chris O'Leary, Notre Dame, on the resume. He knew Minter, who's the San Diego Chargers. Geez, tell you how old I am. Los Angeles Chargers. Obviously, he goes with Harbaugh, brings him aboard. Mike Elston obviously coached with him as well at Notre Dame. He goes to the Chargers for a year, and now he's the DC with Lance Taylor at Western Michigan. Yeah. So you could easily see Mickens do something like that as well. So I could easily see him going to the NFL, enjoying life, kicking butt out there, and then bam, something's going to pop for him out there.
Yeah, or he might just love Notre Dame. It's like,
hey.
Who knows? Maybe he's got some offers and he just turned them down. He loves Notre Dame.
No, exactly. I mean, Mike Elston was there with with Kelly all those years. Denbrock's obviously has come back 3 freaking times. So, so that it's a good place, man. And they're paying good. He's going to get another bump because they have the best pass defense in the country. So, and it's always a new challenge. That's something people always forget is, you could say Gray, Moore coming back, but it's still a new challenge. Because who the hell's the backups, right? Who are those young guys? There's, if Leonard Moore goes down, who the heck's replacing him? Like they had someone to replace Ben Morrison. So still going to be a hell of a challenge in 2025. So
when Ben Morrison does go down and you lose Mickey, you're like, oh,
Mickey,
you're screwed. And we didn't know Leonard Moore was a freak show. I mean, he was a summer enrollee true freshman.
Yeah.
So hey, who knows? Maybe, I mean, they got a lot of good corners though in the true freshman mix. I'm really excited to see what Ja'Juan Blair does at safety too. Like, oh man, how fun would that be if Ja'Juan Blair really gets on the field and you hear all the Kyle Hamilton comparisons and whatnot. Anyways,
Bobby Taylor, way back in the old days, 1992, when he got on that field as a true freshman. He's the same size as Ja'Juan Blair, and you're just like, who's this guy? True freshman and out there kicking butt. So I'd be excited. Those DBs, I know we talked about them a long time, but man, they need to be ready. Not all of them, but a couple of them. Be ready. Come in and be ready because they're going to need some of those guys with the athleticism they bring.
Folks, please hit the thumbs up on this video if you're watching on YouTube. Come on, just do it. Help support us here at Blue and Gold. And, of course, subscribe to the channel for more content. I'm slower on the channel for the past 10 days or so, but we're going to ramp it up more at the end of this week just for me to go off next week. But make sure you subscribe. Tim, I want to talk about projecting the 12-team college football playoff in
I love this.
2026. I mean, who's going to be the champion? Let's do it now. Let's take a look at what the On3 guys are saying. Because I feel like the last show we did, ESPN did theirs, and then I guess the On3 guys wanted to do.
Yeah, Ari. Yeah, Ari, yeah. I always like Ari and Andy because they're so different. You get great viewpoints from those two guys, and it's always obviously interesting to see what they do. I mean, personally, if the season starts tomorrow, I would vote Texas number one. So I think you got Sark's been there for a while. Their recruiting's been freakish, unbelievable players coming back, both sides of the ball. So, and guess who they get to throw to? Some guy named Ryan Wingo, who would have been nice if Notre Dame had him, huh? Got Wingo at Texas, Tate at Ohio State. How cool is that? Bitter Tim and wide receiver recruiting there, right there.
Jack Sobel is doing like a ranking the position groups article at Notre Dame because it's February, right? So he sent his list to us, and I hope Jack's okay with me saying this, but he had the receivers at 5, and to me there was like, yeah,
okay,
there was like a gulf. The first 4 were obvious, and then 5 through 8 were obvious. It's like there's like a big gap between 4 and 5, but I was like, he was like, man, on paper, like, dude,
don't play paper.
I was like, Jack, I was like, for me, I said 6, and I'm like, dude, I if it were me, I'd put him at 6 because like I just feel fooled too many times at wide receiver and just can't do it, can't have it happen again. I'm just not going to comment on the receiver group, Tim. I'm just not going to do it all off season. I'm not taking the bait. When we do a grades show, I'm just not going to comment. I'm just going to say not NA. That's my answer.
I already told you to tell Stovall and Horka, man, when they go to those first spring practices and they're in underwear out there running around in t-shirts and shorts, do not film routes on air. Okay, I don't care who's catching the hitch route on air.
Tim, okay? I guarantee you, they're going to do it.
I know
we're gonna put it on B-roll. Of course we are.
Of course. I've already told you they're gonna look at Micah Gilbert on the out route. No, don't do it. Don't do it.
I just I talk about all of them in a vacuum, and there's exciting things. And I'm actually gonna do an article Saturday at Blue and Gold. I talked to a source today, actually a couple sources I think are pretty plugged in, know what's going on. Leave it at that, about some young guy. I wanted to focus on some young guys and how they're progressing. A couple of them are wide receivers, and I got rave reviews. So, but still, I'm like, I need to, in a vacuum, I'll love each individual player, but as a whole, I will believe it when I see it.
Real quick.
Wait, no, let me real quick before you real quick, and then we'll look at the rankings. You know what we have not talked about yet, and I feel like we're just kicking this can down the road. Spring ball's going to start soon. We got to do a show on it.
It is.
The quarterbacks.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it's March. It's right after St. Patty's Day, so I think they're starting.
We're going to know so much about. I feel like after spring ball, we're going to know so much more about the group. There's just going to it's going to kind of unravel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're gonna
not officially know, but we're gonna know.
Just I mean, no, I get as far as wide receivers, don't they have? Isn't Burris is the Georgia guy there? Richardson, Burris, and Bettis are all there. Oh, they're all there. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
They're all there. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, yeah, a kid from Greenville, Georgia, population of like 800. Like that kid gets enrolled early. Like I don't know. I just thought that was fascinating.
Hanging out in the snow.
That he like they prepped them for early enrollment. So yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I think that Burris is gonna. I think he's gonna play. Maybe kind of like Boubacar kind of flashed a little bit his freshman year. You just have that freshman who just plays a little bit, still red shirts, but like flashes. I think that's gonna be Burris this year. I think Burris. Damn it, there I am. I'm doing it again.
I'm not saying anything, Mike. I'm not saying anything.
I said I wasn't going to, and I just keep yapping. All right, Tim. So here's JD Pakel's. So for podcast audience,
okay,
I'm going to just kind of hit the key points here. He's got Oregon as his national champion. He really likes Dante Moore beating Texas. And he's got Notre Dame in the 6-11 game, Notre Dame hosting Kansas State, and then playing Clemson in the next round in the 3-6 game. And Clemson beating Notre Dame. Now, all 4 of the bye teams lost their first game of the playoffs, and JD's got 3 of them winning.
Yeah.
And I hate the conference champ auto buy thing. I think it's terrible.
Last
Auto
year.
bids, not auto buys. Last year,
they're going to change that for 26.
So he's got Notre Dame. Clemson's. It should be a really darn good team next year. Stock up on Clemson. All the people are down on Dabo. I think you're going to be changing your tune on that. So, Tim, do you just want me to go through all 3 of these?
Yeah. Just 12 seconds on this one is there's no way in hell 2 Big 12 teams are getting in. So you got Arizona. I'm telling you, the Big 12. We are going to go 10 straight years, 10 straight different champions. So that conference is just going to just devour each other. They're going to be roller coasters. Obviously, Texas Tech and the great Mr. Blanchard with all the money they've just thrown out to everybody.
Yeah.
Coming off of their they didn't win the Texas Bowl. That's mighty Brian Kelly won the Texas Bowl. So, but they won one of those little tiny ones. So, Casey, I'd be stunned. The 12, obviously, UNLV must have the hype this year. LSU and Brian Kelly, obviously, the pressure is going to be on. They spent like crazy to get a bunch of guys. Damn good quarterback coming back. Dude, but their schedule is no joke. And I don't see them. That's going to be the interesting one. And they obviously, the first game of the year is LSU at Clemson. So that's going to be fun. Texas is going to be just my preseason number 1 until I learn more.
Yeah. And Ari Wasserman's got Texas winning as the 1 again. Seed and just running. People loving Arch Manning. So he's got a Final Four, Texas, Oregon, Ohio State, and Clemson. And he's got Notre Dame in the 6-11 game. Notre Dame hosting South Carolina. Sorry, this headache is killing me. And Notre Dame getting upset by by South Carolina, and then a Clemson South Carolina rematch in the next round. So what do you think about this one, Tim?
I don't get this Arizona State. I know Levitt's coming back, the quarterback, but I'm telling you, that place is that conference is going to be wild. Bama has way more. Bama stacked again. They obviously got Ryan Grubb at OC. I could easily see Bama in there. Penn State's going to be in. Penn State's going to play with their eyes closed this year and make it in. They have like 4. I think they'll be 5-0 to start the season before they play anyone with a pulse. It is brutal. They have like 8 home games too. Penn State's schedule is a joke for playoff teams. Number 10. That because I want to do this with you like before spring ball gets rolling. Do our pre-spring one, and then we'll do a post-spring.
Like one of these.
Those are my sleepers, man. I think they're going to be a big dark horse in the Big Ten this year. This year's Indiana. I could see, number 10, the Illini fit definitely in the playoff run.
You want to do like a projecting the field prediction thing?
Yeah. Let's do one before spring ball or something. Have some fun one night and just throw one out.
And then Andy Staples did one. He's got
the Irish.
He's got Tim. Did you get an email there?
It's always something. You turn them off, and always one finds you somehow. There you go.
He's got Notre Dame also in the 6-11 game.
Yeah,
hosting Florida, beating Florida, playing Clemson in the 6-3, 3-6, I should say, beating Clemson, and then beating Oregon to reach the national championship game. So he's got a very similar path for Notre Dame from this past season, and then he's got Texas winning it all. So
there's my Brett. I love Brett Bielema. I think he's a hell of a ball coach. So I see him in there. You got 2 up there at the 9. They're going to be a really good football team. The Gators. I know they have the most brutal schedule in the history of football again. But they're not going to waste time with the Mertz. They're going to be all Lagway, and they got athletes all over the place. So the Gators could be this year's just shocker with the talent they have. I know their schedule's tough as could be, but it's talent. South Carolina is going to be the wild card. Excellent D-line, and they got that quarterback.
Yeah,
who runs around like crazy and causes havoc. So did the other 2 didn't have the Buckeyes, did they? Real quick,
hold on, sorry.
Because Ohio, they do.
Ari's got him in the championship game. JD's got him losing in the second round.
Okay, so the Buckeyes are interesting just because of how much talent they lost, and I have some numbers down which are just staggering. So the talent. Obviously, Ohio State recruits like piece of cake. They just show up and get guys, but they're going to be interesting to see how they fare this year.
So
they have Texas, I believe, to start the season.
Who's going to be Notre Dame's quarterback to take them to the national championship game?
Oh my God! Well, we're going to find out in the spring. So Notre Dame with a rookie quarterback going to the national title game. That would be an amazing story.
Yeah, you return one start. Yep. Freeman loves him. Loves experience. He's got one start.
He doesn't know more.
Returning. Tim, I wrote this article the other day where Notre Dame's 2025 class ranks per the major media outlets. I thought this was interesting. So you take all four of the websites, right? And I included the On3 industry ranking, which like weighs On3, ESPN, 24/7, and Rivals, and On3, right? So it's just On3's rankings. And I even called up Tom Lemming. Tom sent me his top 25. So the On3 industry ranking, Notre Dame was at 12. Just On3, 12. ESPN, 15. 24/7 had Notre Dame's 25 class at 12. Rivals, number 11. And then Tom Lemming, 12. So what do you take from this data point about Notre Dame's 2025 class, Tim? Is this something? Is it anything? Because Notre Dame signed the number 10 class in Freeman's first full year in 23, 11 in 2024, now 12 in 2025, according to the On3 industry ranking.
No, exactly. And you go 10, 11, 12. The blue chip ratio has gone from 78, 57, 56. That's a little dip as well. So is it, you don't want to use the Kelly terms, right? Shopping down a different aisle and all those things. But is it, some of their scouting is different? Are they finding more Leonard Moores in the room? Just use him as an example. More Anthony Knapps, guys of that nature. We talk all the time about the top 100. And we know historically 50 out of the top 100, Notre Dame's not going to recruit. That's just the way it's been as long as I've been on this earth. So you're already slicing it from there. And then certain positions, especially the elite D linemen, wide receivers, so much of them are all about the money. So, and is Notre Dame going to outbid, Alabama for a guy out of the deep South at D line? No, they're just not. So, it's different. And, the recruiting thing, it's heavily weighed to the South. It just is. All these rankings, the South, all the sites are just loading up on the South. So
so let me ask you this with that in mind. So do you think that the rankings got Notre Dame's class wrong? Like it's better than 12? Is that what you're saying?
No, you know what? They're always closer. They're always closer to certain teams. They're closer, to that top 5, 6, 7 than they are, 15, 16, 17.
Well, we can look that up. That's actually very easy for us to do.
I've done that. I've done that over the last few years with Freeman, and he's been closer to the top 5 than he's been to the top, to the next 15, 16, so to speak. So when you add it up.
So just looking at this, Tennessee score, this is the On3 industry ranking, is 91.9. Yeah. Notre Dame's a 91.5. And then you go one spot lower and Miami's a 90.9. So there is, you're a lot closer to 10 than 13 is to you at 12.
And they've been like that was it? Oh, it was it could be the 23 class where they were literally like less than a point away from number 5. So when you break these things down, I like looking at the points because you get to see how close they are, and it's constantly. Kyle Kelly posted this, and it was talking about trying to get an extra. We were talking on the message board, trying to get that an extra couple guys, and I think it's more. I know we focus top 100. Somebody posted this like 3 years ago, and it's always stuck in my head. On the message board, and I loved what he talked about was like the point system, and that's when I started diving into the points of what is a top 100 player. What's really someone with a 93. So anyone with a 93, you're in the pool to be considered. So what's the difference between number 89 and 112? Minuscule. It's just what one guy picks, basically. They all have the same score, so to speak. So I like to look at how many 93s does Notre Dame have. And they've been pretty consistent with Freeman. In 2023, he had 5+1, as I call it. Great House was a pinch below. He was like 92.9. He was right below. Then they had 6 and 24, and then 6+1 this year. So they were pretty top heavy this past year in 25. They signed a few more guys in the bottom 500 is really what they've done. But that's where they're going out reaching for a guy like Davion Dixon, Sean Seviano. Those guys are low 3 stars, but they're expecting them to come in and be guys. So, so guys that, that are on 3, look at it. Always look for that number, that 93. The more guys that Notre Dame could get in there, the better. And it really comes down to, I'm no math major, but it's literally, Mike, one more guy. It's two. If they had like 2 more guys right around 93, all of a sudden they're in they're in that 5-6 range, that 7 range right there. So it's closing, and that's going back to obviously restructuring some of the recruiting things. Freeman's been there 3 years. Is it a different messaging? Refining a few things, obviously with Chad gone. To me, it's going to be interesting to see what it is. And then obviously you're coming off a national title game appearance. So how does that, bounce all the way through the entire country as they try and get one more Jadon Blair, one more Chris Burgess, guys like that. So trying to find a couple more of those guys right around that 93 mark.
Cool. Tim, that's all I got for today.
Speaking of that, real quick, I forgot. Sure. I wrote this down, man. Talking about the 93 rankings, which is basically a top 100 from 2020. This is going to make some people throw up, but anyway, from 2020 to 2025 classes, Notre Dame signed 36 players with a 93 rating. 3 right on the cusp, meaning like Carmody was right on the edge. Great House is right on the edge. Like Ohio State signed 61.
Jeez.
25 more. By the way, 25 more players equals a 2 deep. So Ohio State. So Notre Dame played Ohio State, and they have an entire 2 deep roster of more top 100 caliber players in Notre Dame. That's just insane.
Yeah.
And so that's just talking about recruiting, where Notre Dame needs to go. They obviously have, they won bowl games with Freeman. He ended his first and second year, with, 2 big, bowl wins to get, obviously against Oregon State to get that 10th win. They win the 2 biggies this year to get to the title game. So coaching's not an issue as long as Mike Singer says you're not playing a MAC team. 2025 is going to be really different because this year, remember last year we talked about, or at least I did, only playing 8 power conference teams. This year's 10. They're playing 10.
It feels like, and one of them's Boise. So
and Boise's really 11 because they're going. But aren't they going to recreate the?
I don't know, but they're damn good. It's
exactly that's what I'm saying. So technically, you could count. I mean, Boise can play in any conference. So really, it's 11 plus Navy. So this schedule is going to be really, really a lot harder than it has been the last few years. So I think Freeman's got a system. I think these coaches have a system, the experience. They lose out Golden, but Ash has been around the block. Denbrock coming back. Mickens being a key. Bringing in another elite running back coach. The 2 guys that need double high fives from all of us is Al Washington going into year 4. What he did playing 3rd stringers last year is amazing. And Joe Rudolph is going into year 3.
Yeah.
They haven't had it's been ages since, because they had 3 straight years with the new O-line coach.
Yeah.
Quinn, Harry, and now Joe. So this is going to be interesting to see how this O-line rolls in year 3 with Rudolph and obviously the talent that has. But really excited to dive into that down the road.
Yeah, Joe Walt had a new offensive line coach every year at Notre Dame, same as Blake Fisher. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. I had something I wanted to add from what you said, but it's slipping my mind. Oh, here's what it is. Year 4 seems like a turning point because, all right, Notre Dame just did something that it had not done since 93 and win the major postseason bowl game, and they did it twice. But Tim, as we know, we're very "what have you done for me lately" group of people. So if Notre Dame goes like 9-3 or something in the regular season, or 8-4, it's like, yeah, well, 2024 to 25 season was just a flash in the pan. Look at the recruiting rankings. Freeman, I mean, is he the guy? Was that just a one-off season? It's just back to mediocrity. No, maybe not mediocrity. I'm just saying what I anticipate a group of people saying. So, like, this is going to be such a fascinating season, Tim. Is Notre Dame going to go at like a strong 10-2, 11-1 with that schedule? I could see Notre Dame potentially making the playoff at 10-2. If you go 11-1, I mean, I guess all of those guys they all had Notre Dame in the 6th seed, right? So that's 11-1. If Notre Dame's
11-1,
if Notre Dame is undefeated, they're going to be in the 5. Like, sorry, even if Ohio State is amazing, and these guys will have Oregon winning the Big Ten or something like. Yeah, sorry. An undefeated Notre Dame is always going to be in the 5, especially with that schedule. So it's like, which way does this season go with the rookie quarterback? It's really fascinating. But Freeman just signed a long-term deal. Like, he can pretty much do anything this year and he'll be safe. But just kind of, Tim, are you with me, or do you disagree with, like, this is year 3 is always a biggie, right?
Yes.
But year 4 just seems like what is this program? Like, is it a legit national championship contender? Or is it like hey, every few years you can make a run?
Yeah, God, speaking of that, right there, that's Louis Emoji and Tim Priester talked about that for years back in the old blue and gold days about, making a legit, the goal was always like one legitimate run every 5 years. So technically they just did that. But then if you don't, God, there's articles, great articles Lou wrote back in the day about a pattern, what to expect, 5-year blocks there. So they just made a run, but Freeman's already had a couple dips, right? A 10-3, a 9-4 in his tenure. So year 4 is really a BCS type of a game, New Year's 6 BCS, whatever the hell you want to call them. But that is the modern playoff. If he's the 11 seed, the 10 seed, that's the same record as getting into the Fiesta Bowl at 9-2. Charlie Weiss, one of those years, or in Brian Kelly in 2015, that type of year when you're 10-2. So that's the standard of getting to the BS. Man, there's just so many guys coming back. They lose. I mean, they lost a ton of gray hairs. We've talked about that all year. Here's 8 guys going to the combine, and we haven't even mentioned, Clark and Oben. There's 10. Mitch Jeter, 11. They got to replace. So there's another guy right there. And obviously Rocco with 23 starts, Pat Coogan with 26 starts. There's 13 players now. Now you're at 13. Tosh Baker, the ultimate swing guy all over the place, 14. You just start adding these guys up. But then you got, if Ashton Craig is healthy, Patello's healthy, if Traore's healthy, man, and then you got Bryce Young was a third stringer, and he's making plays all over the place at the end of the year. Every linebacker's back outside of Kaiser, but the linebackers are freaking good as hell. The safety, how do you replace Watts? I have no idea. So that is going to be a massive spring question. And then the biggie, wide receiver, we don't want to talk about, but you think you have a good start. Fields won't be here in the spring, as you've talked about, but you go Fields, Faison, Greathouse, Pauling. That's 4 really good college wide receivers. Who's behind them? And that's the young.
Is it a B+, Tim?
No, not yet. That's the young bucks, but now the young bucks have to come in. O-line, we keep talking about the talent. It's there, but now they got to gel together, and they got to gel game 1 against Miami, and that place is your freak show. So
last thing, Tim.
If you go 9-3, it's going to be, because there's no way. I don't want to say there's no way in hell, because of course there is, but it's like that would be a stunner because of the talent, the speed that's on this team, right? And plus I don't think Denbrock's going to have a quarterback, that goes out there and just wets the bed all the time.
Yeah.
I don't see that. I think the staff is smart enough, and even bringing in a new, the running back coach who's been around. He's been around winners. I think they're going to be smart enough to be able to manage this. And the running back room's just stacked, just loaded next year. Just loaded.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, you got to go in the season. Worst case scenario. I hate to say worst case, right? But I mean, seriously, 10-2. But even 10-2, Notre Dame fans will be disappointed because you're like, who's on? I mean, Mike, the season starts today. They're favored in 12 games.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You think of Miami?
But Miami isn't the early line. Let's say a field goal, right? I think some of the early betting lines. I think they're favored. So they're going into training camp as a 12-game favorite. So I think that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And the first 2 games tell the story, man. You win those first 2, the talk of 12-0 is going to be there. Obviously, you still got you got Arkansas is going to be a crazy SC at home. But man, look at all those games you have at home.
Yeah. Notre Dame's 2.5-point favorite right now again's Miami, which you know is going to change. But
is Beck healthy? God, I feel like I don't want to ramble too much, but it's exciting because of what they have coming back. Massive question marks, but even Texas. I mean, Texas is my preseason number 1. They have 4 offensive linemen went to the NFL.
I thought you said Penn State was your preseason.
I said Penn State is going to be. I said don't be surprised.
Okay. Okay. All right.
I've been consistent. Penn State is going to be a top 3 preseason because they have a quarterback and everyone else around. Texas would be my number 1. I started diving into them more. They just got to replace the offensive line.
Let me get a word in.
Go for it. I love it, man. I'm already getting excited about the damn.
I know.
I got to take a pause here.
I talked about this with Goolsby in our last show. If Notre Dame starts 2-0, I think they're running the table. If you go 2-0 and you beat Miami on the road, then you beat Texas A&M at home, and then you have Purdue, Arkansas, Boise, NC State, USC, Boston College, Navy, Pitt, Syracuse, Stanford.
I know,
dude.
The first half.
Listen. Like Arkansas, Arkansas. Could you lose at Arkansas?
Yes.
Sure. Could you lose Boise at home? Sure. USC at home? Like, I'm not really like Goolsby was like, oh man, at Boston College. I'm telling you, those players at Pitt. Oh man, I remember the last time Notre Dame played at Pitt. I mean, it was over.
9-7, right?
The third. It was. So my just thought is, again, if you go 2-0, you're going 12-0. That's how I feel. I mean, barring injuries, not going to win all that, but I really do feel like that because you are going to be like every other game. You're going to have superior talent. I mean, USC. You never know what you're going to get with USC, right, Tim? But
but they'll be good. And that's a rival. Yeah, they'll be good.
You should win all those games. You're going to be favorited, and maybe all but one of those by more than 7 points at least. So I'm bullish on this team.
I see what Goolsby's talking. I mean, because you're going to stub your toe. Pitt always seems to play Notre Dame tough.
There's no MAC teams,
but it's like BC.
No MAC teams.
But BC doesn't have.
It's not the BC.
They don't have the talent, the speed.
Yeah, Matt Ryan's not walking through that door.
And you're so right, man. You get through those first 2, dude. The way it flows, you know. Arkansas is going to be, because it's just they've never played there, and it's Arkansas. It's probably be a night game, crazy, Pig Suey and all that fun stuff. It's going to be a crazy atmosphere.
I buy into the staff after opener at A&M. They win.
I agree. Exactly. That's the experience. So Bowen, Moore, Gray. I mean, Gray made the big PBU to end the game. The lineman coming back, Knapp, true freshman in that game. Emil Wagner, so many guys coming back that experienced College Station. So the key's Miami. I think it's 1977. Though obviously they didn't play between 89 was the last game until they played there in 17. So it's a huge, huge break. But 1970s the last time they beat Miami, because that's right when they started to turn the corner during those years. But it's obviously in the early 80s with Coach Schellenberger and Jimmy Johnson. But you win that first game. Cristobal, farts like he always does in the fourth quarter. You get out of there. with a nice W. That's all you need. It's good, because they're going to be preseason highly ranked. You win those first few games like that, man, go have fun the rest of the season.
Yep. So, Tim, we finished our topics for the show at 45 minutes, and we hit an hour just kind of shooting the shit about the 25 schedule. So I love it.
Man, I exactly. I had no thoughts about that, man. When you just start diving into some of these players and the year for what these guys just went through. You know what I mean? It's like, man, if they do a Brian Kelly, meaning 2013, after they went 12-0 and lost to Bama, and they go, the next year lay an egg and lose 4 games, and was that that was Rutgers. Yeah, they had to play Rutgers in the Pinstripe Bowl. If we get that this year, no, people are going to lose their minds.
Yeah. Tim, great show.
I love it.
That's all I've got. And for the show, and then next week I will be out. I'll make sure Horka does a couple of live shows, and I'll have him connect with you if he's able to do so. And then I will have a recruiting show with Kyle Kelly tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern time. We'll talk about some Notre Dame recruiting news, so make sure you lock in to the channel. Again, folks, hit the thumbs up if you have not done so yet. And as always, we will catch you next time.